Look, right now, across the financial world, there's a quiet certainty that successful traders just get. And it's a certainty that completely ignores the loud, frantic voices of the masses. We're skipping the usual pleasantries in this explainer today because we need to lock in. We need a deliberate, unshakable focus. Today, we're figuring out exactly how to find your edge in the quiet. And we'll see why paying attention to the noise isn't just useless, it is literally destroying your framework. I want to start by hitting you with this stark, totally contrarian reality. Think about this. The consensus is a reliable signal that the trade is almost certainly over. Just let that sink in for a second. If you look around and see near universal agreement on a direction or a narrative, yeah, the money's already been made. By the time everyone's nodding their heads, the price has already moved. The real opportunity, it actually lived in the disagreement. Which brings us to Section 1, the illusion of consensus. We're going to break down exactly how this collective mirage actually forms. So let's dive into this. Right now, across thousands of glowing screens, we're talking financial Twitter threads, YouTube comment sections, chaotic Discord servers, trading forums. The crowd is busy forming a consensus. Everyone suddenly has a rocket emoji and knows exactly where a specific meme stock or asset is headed. The analysis is literally everywhere. But here's the brutal truth, guys. The crowd arrived at their conclusion way after the money was made. And now they're sharing this conclusion everywhere as if it's unpriced market intelligence. But it's not unpriced. No way. The market always has it priced in. Let's move on to Section 2, why financial crowds fail. We really need to look under the hood at the mechanics of collective judgment here and figure out exactly why retail traders constantly fall into this herd-following trap. To understand the trap, we really have to look at the theory that built it. Back in 2004, James Soroyaki introduced this concept called the wisdom of crowds. And man, the financial media and trading community just eagerly weaponized this idea. They used it to justify following consensus sentiment and crowdsourcing analysis, but they completely missed the fine print. Actually, scratch that, they ignored the fine print. Soroyaki argued this was only true under very specific, incredibly strict conditions. So where does it all go wrong? Well, look at the actual requirements for a crowd to be wise. You need diversity of information, independence of judgment, and decentralized decision-making. Now contrast that with our modern reality. Financial social media violates absolutely every single one of these rules. The crowd isn't diverse, it's herded. The exact same narratives just circulate through the same echo chambers. The judgment isn't independent, it's cascading. One person's view is entirely shaped by the tweet they just read. And the info, totally centralized. It flows from a very small handful of really loud voices setting the whole frame. And so the crucial takeaway here is this. It's not collective wisdom, it is synchronized noise. It's just collective bias amplified and accelerated so fast that it kind of feels like consensus intelligence. But remember, the market prices in the aggregate behavior of all participants. So by the time the crowd reaches a consensus, the market has already digested it. When you act on this amplified bias, you're not acting on intelligence. You're acting on the exhaust of a process that's already over. This takes us to Section 3, the Stoic Trader's Filter. Let's see how ancient philosophy can actually solve this incredibly modern, high-tech problem of endless noise. To really anchor ourselves, check out this powerful paradox from Marcus Aurelius. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. Just let that agitate your ego for a second. Marcus Aurelius was constantly asking a question most traders never bother to ask. Whose opinion am I actually seeking here? Does this person even have the knowledge, the integrity, the relevant experience to make their opinion worth a dime? The Stoics weren't antisocial, they were just incredibly discerning. So let's apply that ancient discernment right to your modern screens. Let me ask you this directly. Does the crowd know your system, your time frame, and your risk parameters? Almost always, the answer is a flat no. The crowd in that trading forum enthusiastically shouting about a setup has absolutely zero idea if that opportunity is compatible with your personal edge or if it's completely conflicting with it. And that builds to the ultimate reality check. Does the crowd bear the consequence of your decision? No, you do. The people offering cheap, abundant opinions online have zero skin in the game when it comes to your financial losses. Listen, the person who bears no consequence for the quality of their opinion has no skin in the accuracy of it. In the financial media ecosystem, opinion without consequence is quite literally the cheapest commodity there is. All right, Section 4, building noise resistance. We've talked philosophy, so now let's get into the tactical solution.
because true resistance comes from building a rock-solid internal framework.
See, a trader with a weak internal framework is vulnerable to every loud voice out there. But a trader with a strong framework evaluates every single external input against this one ultimate filter question. Is this relevant to my specific system in current conditions? Not, is this interesting? Not, is everyone else talking about this? This single question eliminates, 90% of financial noise before it can ever infect your decision-making. Okay, let's get into the actual mechanics of this framework. This is the 4-step noise resistance architecture that's going to rebuild how you operate. We've got the input audit, the pre-session lockdown, the consensus contrarian audit, and opinion diet maintenance. Let's break these down one by one. Steps 1 and 2 are your foundation. The input audit means evaluating every single information source you use. If it doesn't directly improve execution, remove it. Don't just reduce it, get rid of it. Then the pre-session lockdown. Once your session prep is done, you consume absolutely zero new external input while the market is open. No news, no social media. Your session runs on your preparation. Anything arriving during the active session is trying to use incomplete information to compete with your finished pre-market prep. And honestly, it should lose that fight every single time. So, what happens when a consensus trade idea does somehow manage to breach your lockdown? You run it right through step 3, the Consensus Contrarian Audit. First up, identify the entry. At what price level did the majority become convinced? Because that's the level where the trade is already priced in. Second, the counterparty check. Remember, every trade has a counterparty. If the retail consensus is overwhelmingly long, who with more capital and better infrastructure is actually taking the short side? Following institutional flow after it's already moved isn't an edge, it's just the cost of being late. And finally, return to your system. Does this trade actually meet your written criteria? If not, the crowd doesn't get to override your filter. Step 4 is your weekly maintenance. You need an opinion diet. Review every single source you consumed over the past 7 days. Ask yourself, did it improve my execution, or did it just introduce noise I had to mentally manage? Building this resistance doesn't make you closed-minded or incurious. It makes you highly, highly selective. Those noisy sources aren't neutral. They consume your cognitive resources. They're a cost, and you've got to treat them like one. And now we've reached our final section, the cost of noise. I want to drop the volume a bit here and talk about where your actual advantage lies. Genuine market edge is found in total silence. The trader who removes the noise learns to hear the clear, specific signal that's left behind. That signal doesn't shout. It's not trending on social media with fire emojis. No, it sits right there in your trading journal. It sits in your scenario map and your marked levels. It was there before the crowd ever showed up, and it'll be there long after the crowd has moved on. The edge lives in the quiet, in the preparation, and in a system that literally does not require anyone else's opinion to know what to do next. So I want to leave you with this final, penetrating question to think about. In the last month, how many of your trades were influenced by something you read, watched, or heard from someone entirely outside your own system? Not just informed by, but influenced enough that you entered, exited, or adjusted a trade in a way your written rules did not specify. Seriously, count them. Because that number is the true cost of the noise. It's paid in process violations and in decisions made by someone else's framework inside your trading account. Let the crowd have its noisy consensus. You have a system. Trade the system, not the noise.